energy socks.
Well, the virus has now killed more than 100 people in China, and new cases have been confirmed around the world.
You don't want to frighten the American public.
France and South Korea have also got evacuation plans.
But you need to prepare for and assume
strongly warning Americans to avoid all non-essential travel to China.
That this is going to be a real serious problem.
France, Australia, Canada, the US, Singapore, Cambodia, Vietnam, the list goes on.
Health officials are investigating more than 100 possible cases in the US.
Germany, a man has contracted the virus.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
Japan, where a bus driver contracted the virus.
Coronavirus has killed more than 100 people there and infected more than 4,500.
We have to prepare for the worst, always, because if you don't and the worst happens.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Donald J. Trump, the 45th President of the United States, says nothing is inevitable. That means through human action and human agency, we can determine our fate, determine our destiny. And now, in the great fourth turning in American history, it's front and center what the problem is. The problem comes from Beijing, and the problem is the Chinese Communist Party. It's an enemy to its own people. It's an enemy to the people of the United States. It's an enemy to all free men and women throughout the world, and it's an enemy to all of mankind. And we know how we have to deal with enemies. You don't nurture them, you don't cuddle them, you don't pat them on the head, you confront them. This piece from this intellectual Richard Haass, the president of the Council on Foreign Relations, a group that's made a great number of calls over the last 20 years, 30 years. These are the same guys. A Cold War with China would be a mistake. He's absolutely correct. Since they're in a hot war with us, a Cold War on our side would only lead to ultimate defeat. This is the Thucydides trap. This is what he believes. These people believe in the managed decline of the West. They believe in the managed decline of the United States. In fact, they said we shouldn't even take this on as a nation state. These are transnational problems. This is the same type of nonsense that was put forward by Henry Kissinger and Graham Allison and Zbigniew Brzezinski in the 1970s. Rapprochement, SALT, Richard Haas's of the world, on and on and on again. It took a governor of California who sized up the situation and said, no, I think they're actually an evil empire, the Soviet Union. And how about this? Let me simplify. Let's cut through the signal. Let's get to the signal, not the noise. We win, they lose. That's our mantra today. We win, they lose. And the we, just like it was in Eastern Europe and the Russian people, are the Chinese people. The decent, hardworking, Lao Beijing, old 100 names. The deplorables of China, who we just have heard, since they can't arm themselves. Mao said back in the 30s, all power comes from a barrel of a gun, right? That's how he defeated the Kuomintang and how he eventually defeated the Chinese people. But it's their liberation that is before us today. That's the central question of the first half of the 21st century. And whoever assists them in their liberation will write the history of the 21st century. Very clear, black and white. President Trump said the other day at the Resolute desk, this was an attack that was worse than Pearl Harbor. This was an attack that was worse than Pearl Harbor. We have to embrace that. We have to think about it. We want all of the, and by the way, they're attacking Mike Pompeo. They're attacking us nonstop. Now you got the Wall Street Journal, and I want to quote: "A rising chorus of American voices, a rising chorus of American voices now argues that confronting China should become the organizing principle of American foreign policy." Those rising voices, ladies and gentlemen, are hashtag War Room Pandemic. They're afraid of you because they understand a resolved mind of the American people, the deplorables. You changed the course of history in 2016 by electing a populist and economic nationalist in Donald Trump, and you're about to change history now. Joe Biden, Beijing Joe, has got to answer just one simple question. Is Richard Haas on your team? Is this your foreign policy? Because I'm telling the Democratic Party, we're going to have Robert Kuttner on here, and the Bernie folks, the economic nationalists, Bernie, the 10 or 15, 20, 25%. This is not you. This is the globalist economic agenda. This is all they want to do is keep the system going. They want to keep the slave labor of the Chinese people. They like the fact there's not one negative thing in here about these totalitarian dictators in Beijing, about how they oppress these folks that come on here week after week at extreme danger to themselves and to their families. Okay? This is the courage. You're hearing now the dissidents in Russia and in Eastern Europe in the 50s, 60s, 70s that would come forward to tell the West this is a slave labor camp. What did Solzhenitsyn say?
Yeah, we were talking about in the break about the idea that these voices that we're trying to give to the American people are little vignettes of what Solzhenitsyn brought to the West, where he described the terror of the Soviet state. And I was reminded when he was talking about how the Chinese people were disarmed by a very poignant quotation from Solzhenitsyn in the Gulag Archipelago. And he says, "And how we burned in the camps later, thinking what would things have been like if every security operative, when he went out at night to make an arrest, had been uncertain whether he would return alive and had to say goodbye to his family. If or during periods of mass arrest, as for example in Leningrad, where they arrested a quarter of the entire city, people had not simply sat in their lairs paling with terror at every bang at the downstairs door and every step on the staircase, but had understood that they had nothing left to lose and had boldly set up in the downstairs hall an ambush of half a dozen people with axes, hammers, pokers, or whatever else was at hand. The organs would soon very quickly have suffered a shortage of officers and transport, and notwithstanding all of Stalin's thirst, the cursed machine would have ground to a halt if we didn't love freedom enough."
Henry Kissinger referred to Ronald Reagan as the most dangerous man in America. And you know why? Actually, the most dangerous man in the world, I think he said. You know why? Because he called that an evil empire. He says, we're not going to do treaties. We're not going to do SALT. We're not going to do rapprochement. We're not going to do détente. How about this? Let's try this. We win, they lose. Richard Haas, you and all of your types, our betters, from New York City, the venture capitalists, the hedge fund guys, Schwartzman, Fink, all the corporatists, all the globalists that got us in this jam and have been financing the Chinese Communist Party. You've been financing the Gulag. Okay? You're partners with them. That stink we're going to put that stink on you so hard. You're a partner with them. I will tell you one thing that's not going to be effectuated, Richard Haas. This. We win, they lose. And the big winner will be the Chinese people. And once the Chinese people are free, the world will be free. The sunlit uplands all ahead of us. And we got a lot of tough work. There's not going to be a V-shaped recovery. This is an economic inferno caused by this pandemic. We know very little about this virus. And we got to stop turning on each other and blaming mayors and blaming governors and this guy's opening and this guy's not opening. Your anger should be to Beijing. They're the ones that did it. Your anger should be to Beijing. A rising chorus, and I quote from the Wall Street Journal, a rising chorus of American voices now argues that confronting China should become the organizing principle of U.S. foreign policy. That is incorrect. The rising chorus of American voices says that confronting and defeating the Chinese Communist Party, not China as a nation and not the Chinese people, they're our allies, Mr. Richard Haas of the Council on Foreign Relations and the faculty of Georgetown. You are just fundamentally incorrect. All of you intellectuals, all of you financiers, everybody that's dined off these people that come on this show, when you hear about their oppression, you hear about their families, you hear about the gulags, you hear about the slave labor, that's you. This is, hey, you're not really a nation. That Westphalian thing's not working. This is all kind of a network, and we got big network problems. We have, global climate change. We got pandemics. We got this. No. Here's what we got. We got a problem. It's in Beijing. We have a totalitarian dictatorship that's working with Pakistan and Persia and Turkey and Russia and the little vassals in North Korea are trying to control the Eurasian landmass. You say down here you got some nonsense, there's not expansions. Wake up, brother. They're running the East India Company's policy in reverse. They think we're a tributary state. You know why they think we're a tributary state and they're laughing at us? Because you're the head of the Council of Foreign Relations. I'm sure you're going to be on Morning Joe on Monday with your essay and all this. Listen, we're showing you respect because we're going to take all week and beat down on this, okay? Because this is an avenue for kowtowing. This is an avenue for retreat. This is an avenue for abject failure. This is what we've been doing until Donald Trump came along. Biden, step up. When Trump sat there and said no flights coming in from China, which was the CCP, when the CCP, whether it came from the lab or not, we're going to find out. Whether it's part of a biological weapons program or not, we're going to find out. We don't know. That's what the intelligence agency, former Prime Minister Kevin Rudd, that's what we're looking at right now. Okay? But we do know, as a matter of fact, they knew about it. And we do know, as a matter of fact, that they didn't care about the people in Wuhan. They didn't care about the people in Hubei. They just locked that down, but they let it go all over the rest of the world by constricting their own travel. And that's what spread it to Europe and then to JFK, and then from JFK all the way through the United States. And we now have almost 80,000 of our countrymen that are dead in a mass casualty event. And no, the pandemic in 1918 is not a mass casualty event. That's a pandemic. This was, and I quote, the 45th President of the United States, an attack equivalent to Pearl Harbor. I missed that in here, Mr. Richard Haas of the Council on Foreign Relations. I want to hear your voices, hashtag War Room Pandemic, and not just for your children and your grandchildren. Yesterday was the 75th anniversary of VE Day. What would those people think about us? What would the hundreds and thousands of millions that died in that war? What would they think about us? Kowtowing to the Chinese Communist Party? The American military, we got some new information on that, but still putting, if you're hospitalized with the virus, you're permanently disqualified from serving in your military. It tells me it's pretty serious. The military as an institution that's freed more people than any institution in the history of mankind. This is disgusting. We have these people come on here at great risk to their lives and their families' lives to come on here. They're on G News. They're on all these protest sites. The whistleblower movement that's going to reveal, what happened in those labs in China. And yet all you hear is the defense of the Chinese Communist Party. And Richard Haas is just one. You have thousands. And the question gets to be, whose payroll are they on? Whose payroll is Henry? You know, Kissinger's people reach out, he's not taking pay. You're getting paid, dude. Okay? You're not a useful idiot, and you're not a fellow. You're a running dog. And so, Joe Scarborough, bring your passport on. I want to see your international experience. And you got to show me, you got to prove for a fact you've gone someplace farther away than South Padre Island. Okay? Joe Scarborough, Mr. International geopolitical strategist. It is sick. It is sick that we can be here as a country and be in this position. Remember, Ronald Reagan, and they mocked and ridiculed Reagan the entire time. If you think Trump has had it bad and the media's been on him, but I got to tell you, a guy who had it bad was Ronald Reagan. Mocked and ridiculed from day one. And he simplified it. It's very simple. You heard Solzhenitsyn, he read such, hey, and Reagan was deeply and widely read. Although the intellectuals, the Richard Haas of the Council on Foreign Relations, the Zygmunt Brzezinski's mocked and ridiculed him. What it was, Ramsey Clark, not Ramsey Clark, it was the Clark Clifford. Clark Clifford in Georgetown, at the cocktail parties in Georgetown, they'd laugh and mock Reagan. You know what they called him? An amiable dunce. An amiable dunce. Well, dunce this dude. You kowtowed to the Soviets, and that's why we got in the jam. We were then, at that time. Okay, I'm going to just step off the soapbox for a second so we can sell some ads here. We're going to be back with more of our Chinese guests. Zheng Li joins us next on War Room Pandemic.
The hottest new razor is taking the men's grooming world by storm. And if you don't have it, you need it. MicroTouch Solo, the hyper-advanced full-body razor that trims, shapes, edges, and even shaves with micro-precision. And it's totally safe to the touch. Go solo for full-body control with one tool. No nicks, bumps, or ingrown hairs. Edge beards and goatees with one touch. Clean your neck, barber shop perfect. And check this out. Snap on the guide to tame growth and perfectly shape your full beard. And keep new growth stubble trimmed exactly to your style. And look, the Solo Full Body Groomer trims precisely the length of hair you want. Snap off the guide and remove unwanted hair anywhere in seconds. What makes Solo different than your ordinary razor? Dual-sided German stainless steel blade. Shave up or down at 200 microstrokes per second. The Ultra Flex pivoting head contours perfectly to you for precise results. 3 custom grooming guides for control of exact length and shape. And a built-in LED light so you never miss a spot. Solo is so precise, you need no creams, no soaps, and no water. Ditch the old man clippers and toss the scissors. You've got to go solo. Call 1-800-709-9777 or go online at microtouchsolo.com and get yours now for only $19.99. Complete with German stainless steel blade, pivoting head, built-in spotlight, and 3 custom grooming guides. Everything you see here for just $19.99. The all-new MicroTouch Solo Full Body Groomer. The one tool that does it all.
This is the kind of card that has America talking. With it, people with Medicare are getting all-in-one coverage for their doctor visits, hospital care, prescription drugs, and more. This kind of insurance, called Medicare Part C, may also cover dental care, eyeglasses, hearing aids, fitness programs, vitamins, even healthy meals and rides to the doctor. With this kind of coverage, you do not need a Medicare supplement insurance plan. You will access your benefits through your Medicare Part C plan for one low and oftentimes $0 monthly plan premium. You deserve to get the most from your Medicare benefits. Call now for free information that may help you get more coverage for less money. There is no obligation to enroll. Whether for yourself or someone you love, call the number on the screen now. Call now.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Welcome back to War Room Pandemic. Since I've been on my soapbox, we got the guest jammed up here. Want to introduce Zhang Yi. We know him also as Charlie. So Charlie, help us out here. Tell us the tools. Tell our audience in America and throughout the world, what are the tools that the Chinese Communist Party use to control the people of China?
Hi, Mr. Bannon and gentlemen in the war room. First, I would like to thank you for what you did for the greater good. And a friend within the firewall really wants me to tell you that there are many Chinese people who are still sober in China. They know what's going on, and they truly appreciated what you all did for China and for the world. Thank you.
Thanks, brother.
In terms of the measures for the CCP to control people, there are something that every individual in China has to experience in their lifetime. I can give you a few examples. The first one is the called archive system, also mentioned by Mr. Giovanni. So this archive was established as early as you were born. So other than the normal information you can see in one's CV, your political performance will be also particularly recorded or highlighted. As you heard from Eric's story, because of the grandpa's background, Eric's father by then would never be allowed to have a decent education or job if he can score high. This is still happening today. If you made any mistake, if it's related to politics, like people who were in the parade in Tiananmen Square, they would not be allowed, they would be expelled to work within the system. So another one for every Chinese is there's a house registration system. In Chinese, they call it Hukou. So this is a measure like in ancient China, the rulers, they want the farmers to stick onto the farmland to produce more food, so they don't encourage the farmers to migrate around. So this is still happening in China and being converted by the CCP to control the people. It means you can still travel freely in China, and you maybe live in another place for a while, but your insurance doesn't come with you. You will be fully self-funding if you have any medical expenses, if you get sick, and your kids are not allowed to entering local schools. As a consequence, the CCP also set the bar very high for people to move into big cities. And the high-class social resources like public education, hospital, and other infrastructures, they are then concentrated in metropolises like Beijing and Shanghai. So in China, some people were just born to inferior to another. The CCP did a very thorough job to dividing people. The Hukou is just one of them. And recently, like a mad king always fear that someone's going to steal his throne, the CCP, they have, to intensify its control on people, they have delivered a so-called greed management. They divided people into very detailed jurisdictions like 10 or 12 families and will be assigned with a greed management unit. So this greed management team, they're responsible to report every suspicious move to their supervisors. And people like journalists, like ethnic Uyghur groups and lawyers will receive an extra care. There's my friend, he's ethnically Uyghur. If he wants to travel to another city, he has to report himself to the local police. Where is he going, for what business, and when will he return?
Zhang Yi, just wait for hang on a second. I got to ask you this question. We've had people throughout the day and in other shows talk to us about the firewall. They've talked about the surveillance system. They've talked about technology. You've brought up two things. One is house registration, where you can't move around the country because you're kind of locked into a place. But this is the first time I've ever heard this concept called great management. You're saying they also have a human intelligence system broken down to almost like, what, a dozen families, that everything that your family's done is reported then up to the Chinese Communist Party?
Well, they are doing now in the name of maintaining social stability. But they are spreading this measure nationwide. It's not totally done yet, but they have already built up trial points in big cities. And definitely for lawyers, for journalists, they are already been taken very good care of.
Let me ask you, what's been the long term? You know, the Chinese Communist Party's been at this since 1949. What do you think? What is the long term impact on the Chinese people of these surveillance methodologies, whether technological or whether human, in the way they organize society? What kind of impact has it had, you think, on the Chinese people?
Well, I think the massive surveillance is a way of showing the suppression on people, because basically it monitors all the things you are doing, and it controls your freedom, restricted your move. And from a Lao Beijing, the old 100 names perspective, I think sometimes the CCP is not really the jargons that sounds unworldly from us. It has indeed sometimes become an ideological parasite that feeds on people's mind. And given time, personalities can be distorted. This example happened on me, my family. My dad, he used to work in a law enforcement team in a small town. So when I was 5 years old, my dad was working in he and his colleagues are, the mission of them are maintaining the streets, make it look nicer, it gives a better city image. So when I was hanging out with my friends on the street, I saw this truck come by, stopped by this old lady, a hawker, just selling his home planted fruits and vegetables A couple of men just dropped off and starting to throw the fruits and vegetables together with the baskets into the truck. And then I recognized my dad among the uniforms. So the lady could do nothing but stand by, watched her properties, maybe with her or her family's months of work, being just robbed away in front of her. Obviously, she must have damaged the city's image because the oranges and apples rolling on the ground doesn't make the city look nice. And I could never forget the frightening and helpless look on the lady's face. She was holding herself so hard not to cry out loud, but I can see the tears already on her face. Almost not surprisingly, me and my mom were also victims from the domestic violence at the time. This is the long time of depression, accumulated one's resentment, and when he has nowhere to let out, he targets on the weaker. And
this is definitely a typical thing.
Yep.
Is it just a system of? It sounds like just a system of the whole thing is built around just being in charge, being in total control, whether it's a control of the family, control of the town, control of the people. But it's this maniacal, like they have to have, whether it's a technological means, a human organizational means, or just the means of the police state where they're armed and you're not armed. But there's the mentality they have to be in charge. Is that what you're trying to get to?
Yes, I think definitely that's correct. Because other than the frightened old lady, another thing I can recall clearly is that those men in uniforms wielding their fists without mercy. I think they probably enjoyed being the perpetrator. I mean, when people like my dad thinks the old lady challenged my dad's duty, or like when my mom or me disobeyed his will, he thinks he's obligated and with all the righteousness in the world to correct us. They enjoy the sense of being in charge and enjoy others being submissive to them. And unfortunately, this is still happening in China. It's just the change of the targets under the fists. 7 decades ago, it can be Eric's grandpa, and now they can be Catholics refused to subordinate to the CCP, and can be the brave law workers trying to stand with justice. And look at all those Hong Kong people on the street; they were all victims of the system.
Zheng Li, we'd like to have you stay over for the next segment. Okay, we're going to bring you back because some other questions I want to ask you about information warfare and about the technology that's going on in this kind of suppression. I want to just a comment and an observation. I think when you see, to my colleagues here in the war room, we've got about a minute left. This is why, when we had the first week of the show and you see Mara Monahan and the Tibetan Buddhists and the Dalai Lama, you see the Uyghurs, you see the Falun Gong, you see the underground house Christians. And for people who are Christians out there, remember, the persecuted church is always the strongest church because we always take Christianity for granted, right? You can go to any church you want to anytime you want. Oops, except now, right? You're now getting a taste of what it's like. Right, and I'm not saying it's good. That's right or wrong what the authorities are doing, but the fact is we can't worship, whether it's at a temple, whether it's at a church, whether it's at a mosque, like we're normally accustomed to. This is the everyday experience of the Chinese, and in fact, what they're trying to do in this suppression, you see why there's a yearning. This is materialistic, atheistic, communism. It's not communism because it's not that. This is atheistic, materialistic, totalitarian dictatorship. And that's why you see a yearning for something spiritual from a huge swath of these people, whether it's underground house Christians, which they say could be 100 million of, or the underground Catholic Church, which could be 25 million of, the Tibetan Buddhists, Falun Gong, which they're so freaked out about Falun Gong, they've identified it as a cult because they realized that was touching people's lives, the Uyghurs out in East Turkestan. Right, it's completely freaked this apparatus out because this apparatus is about totalitarian control. I miss that in Joe Biden's foreign policy. Joe Biden's foreign policy right here. I miss that. Right, Beijing Joe. You know, when he says that Trump's a xenophobe and a nativist, does he understand what the Chinese people have been through? We're going to continue this when we return on War Room Pandemic.
The hottest new razor is taking the men's grooming world by storm. And if you don't have it, you need it. MicroTouch Solo, the hyper-advanced full-body razor that trims, shapes, edges, and even shaves with micro-precision. And it's totally safe to the touch. Go solo for full body control with one tool. No nicks, bumps, or ingrown hairs. Edge beards and goatees with one touch. Clean your neck, barber shop perfect. And check this out. Snap on the guide to tame growth and perfectly shape your full beard. And keep new growth stubble trimmed exactly to your style. And look, the Solo Full Body Groomer trims precisely the length of hair you want. Snap off the guide and remove unwanted hair anywhere in seconds. What makes Solo different than your ordinary razor? Dual-sided German stainless steel blade. Shave up or down at 200 microstrokes per second. The Ultra Flex pivoting head contours perfectly to you for precise results. 3 custom grooming guides for control of exact length and shape. And a built-in LED light so you never miss a spot. Solo is so precise, you need no creams, no soaps, and no water. Ditch the old man clippers and toss the scissors. You've got to go solo. Call 1-800-709-9777 or go online at microtouchsolo.com and get yours now for only $19.99. Complete with German stainless steel blade, pivoting head, built-in spotlight, and 3 custom grooming guides. Everything you see here for just $19.99. The all-new MicroTouch Solo Full Body Groomer. The one tool that does it all.
Some people say dress your age. That's ridiculous. I dress how I feel. Yesterday, I felt bold with boundless energy. This morning, I woke up calm and unbreakable. Tomorrow, who knows? Age is just an illusion. How you show up for the world, that's what's real. What's your idea? I put it out there with the GoDaddy website. Make the world you want.
I sent your new prescription to the pharmacy. Any idea how much it will cost? You have a choice. Insurance or GoodRx? I have insurance. Insurance is not what it used to be. People struggle to get their prescriptions covered, and prices keep rising. I recommend GoodRx. You get free coupons to save on your prescriptions. Compare prices to find the best discounts.
GoodRx. Smart.
Stop paying too much for your prescriptions. Download the free app today.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Welcome back to War Room Pandemic. This is Descending into Hell Part 4. Voices of the Chinese People, Voices of Defiance. I want to return now to our guest, Zhang Yi. We know him affectionately as Charlie. Tell us about, we've been talking about information warfare. I'm always pointing to this book, Information Warfare, by the 2 colonels in the PLA that wrote back in the 90s, which is it's a little dense. You can read General Spaulding's Stealth Wars, maybe get a synopsis of this. It's also got kind of expensive now. I think it's $50 on at Amazon. Tell us about information warfare. Tell us your personal experiences. I want to know your personal experiences for this information warfare, because we're now finding out today that it's turned on the Chinese people just as much as the information warfare is against the West. That actually seems like there's information warfare both in propaganda and technology against the Chinese people. So do you have any personal experiences in this?
Yes. First of all, like Giovanni mentioned, almost every communication software, every text you send is censored, is checked, scrutinized in China. And they banned all end-to-end encryption softwares in China, so that left Chinese people, we have to stick on a WeChat, which there is a big backdoor for the government to check your information. And there's some interesting facts. The first one is the iPhone they sell in the Chinese market. You can never type in a flag of Taiwan emoji in any app. So you basically cannot type. And recently, my nephew when he was having this online courses because everyone is at home for quarantine. The censorship was so strong, they have cut out the biology classes when the teacher was trying to introduce the human reproductive system. And this also happens to the history and the politics teachers because there are just so many sensitive words that triggering the censorship. For myself, especially after this interview, I would never text sensitive messages to my friends or families through any Chinese-made apps, and either we avoid to talk on the phone sometimes, or we just talk in person. If that's impossible, I would just remain silent. And there are friends around me when they're just complaining about the party or included some sensitive words. Yeah, they will be knocked by the police by their doorstep, and this eventually goes into their social profile, the archive I've just mentioned.
Hold it, hang on. You're saying they'll actually come and knock on the door and say, hey, we saw this where you texted this, or we saw this in some sort of WeChat. They'll knock on the door, interview you, and then put that in your file?
Yeah, I think that depends on your influence you have caused. I'm sure all of us now have heard the story of Li Wenliang, and this is a consequence of their online surveillance and the reporting system, and yeah, it's a very consecutive procedure for them. Someone report and the police go visit, and eventually combine. Yep.
This is what I don't. Let's use the example of Dr. Li for a second. Dr. Li, the great hero of Wuhan, who sacrificed his life for the citizens of China and his fellow countrymen. Dr. Li was in, I think, WeChat, wasn't he, with friends of his, guys he had gone to men and women he had gone to medical school with. But he was turned in. Somehow the authorities found out about it. They took him, tortured him, and made him sign a I'm not a rumor monger. I'm a rumor monger, which affects your social credit score. How did they, if that's not ended, do they have the technological expertise to pick up everything you have on WeChat, or do they have to have a human in your group that monitors you and turns you in?
First, the AI technique, they truly exist, and they will pick up if you speak too much negative things about the party. And for Dr. Li Wenliang's case, it's hard not to mention there's this Wu Mao, the 50-cent party in China. So initially, they were the CCP hired these people to say good things about the party and to negate all those or verbally attack those holding opposite opinions. To strengthen the team, the CCP also hired the serving prisoners, and because they were paid 50 cents for each post, that's how they got the name. But recently, the 50-cent party is evolving. So the total number of them has already exceeded 1 million in China, and of course their salary also increased. I heard Wu Mao in Hong Kong, they tried to suppress the protesters online. They were paid $7 per hour. What's more importantly, these people, 50 cents party, they are now crowned with official job titles. They're called internet commentators. That's equivalent to the Red Guards in the Chairman Mao era. And they, after years of brainwashing, even those who are not hired by the CCP, they somehow equipped themselves with Wu Mao's mind, even without being in the system. And that's probably what happened to Li Wenliang. Some group members within the chart, or someone received the screenshot, thought this is inappropriate. This is going to discombobulate the society, so they reported this to their supervisor and eventually got into the police or those people are surveillance on the internet.
Just last question, because we've had some incidences with the Wu Mao 50-cent army, and our listeners would know that this is this bot army that has come after people like Raheem Kassam and others as they now are becoming voices in support of the Chinese people. But you're saying actually the Wu Mao 50 Cent Army is also internal. We always thought it was just coming after people in the West that support the takedown of the Chinese Communist Party or try to confront the Chinese Communist Party with their crimes. You're saying the Wu Mao 50 Cent Army is actually 1 million, quote unquote, internet commentators internal to China also?
Yes, definitely. They were founded within China. Then now they have cultivated or hired people with multilingual skills. Now they are active also on Twitter and YouTube.
And you think that human this human intelligence network, along with artificial intelligence, is a combination to essentially monitor basically every conversation, every chat you guys are having online?
Yes, definitely.
Li Yung or Zheng Li, thank you very much. Really appreciate you coming on and sharing with us. And we're going to do as much as possible to make sure, Charlie, that they can't get to you. But it's real courage and bravery to come forward. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Can I say my last sentence here?
Sure.
I want to say thank you. Yeah, thank you again for giving me the chance speaking here. It's a truly an honor. And like you said, I still have a fear in me when I'm live in this channel, but I still choose to speak out the truth. Quoting Mr. Matt Cottinger's speech, this is my small act of bravery. Like I said, the CCP is an ideological parasite, and the best way to don't get yourself infected is to kill the parasite. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bennett.
Well, hang on one second. I do want to ask you, thank you so much for that ending, is that talk to us real quickly about what Matt Pottinger did that had such an impact on the Chinese people. Matt Pottinger being the Deputy National Security Advisor to President Trump. What did Pottinger do this week, and how was it received by the Chinese people?
Well, firstly, I heard the speech, the original speech was deleted very soon. I mean, about half an hour after the context was released. And simply, the Chinese government think he went too close to real democracy and science. That's the value they're not embracing, and they don't want people to know. Later on, they just distorted all the meaning, saying, Mr. Matt, you don't know about China. You don't know about the May 4th movement.
Thank you very much, Zhang Li. Really appreciate you coming on and showing courage and bravery.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm telling you, they're so afraid. We're going to eventually teach our Chinese guests that come on here for our specials that in the most dangerous place in Washington is between me and the microphone. You're going to have to jump in here, guys.
Well, but the amazing thing to me, Steve, is the courage that these guys have.
It's amazing.
And one of the things that really changed the American people's understanding of the Soviet Union was these dissidents getting out and telling their stories. And I think when we remember our American history, for most of our listeners, every great struggle that we've been involved in has been surrounding human freedom. And I was encouraged thinking about it this weekend.
Every great struggle, every fourth turning is pivots around that. The Revolution, the Civil War, World War II, and now this. They all pivot around the same thing.
And we're a block away from Frederick Douglass's house here, which the crew from the War Room walk by and give it a hand salute every day.
Very honored to be
Great
on
guy,
the
and he said something that I think is really important. He said, "The man who is right is a majority. We who have God and conscience on our side have a majority against the universe." And this is what the struggle is about. Go read it. It'll inspire you.
Okay, we just got a couple of minutes in this segment. By the way, we're very honored. We're right in the neighborhood where Frederick Douglass's house and his museum. They have the Frederick Douglass Museum is right down the street from us. Okay, now I want to bring in Heisenberg. Heisenberg's a former engineer at Huawei and a very sophisticated, technically sophisticated guy. Heisenberg, thank you for joining us here. By the way, that's his code name Heisenberg. Thank you very much for joining us on War Room Pandemic today.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Bannon. Thank you for having me. And it is so important that finally we average Chinese people have a place to get our voice out. And
we're honored to do
first,
this.
I would like to introduce myself. I was working for Huawei in early 2000 as an engineer. And after that, I worked for United States companies as a supplier to Huawei, ZTE, and other tech companies located in China for almost 10 years. Yes, Ms. Bannon?
Yeah, so tell us, how is Huawei, because it's presented here, it's got Americans working on it, just had a big law firm become its lobbyist here. How is Huawei used as a tool? We know it's part of the PLA, but how is it used as a tool to further the whole program of the Chinese Communist Party?
Oh, okay. As we know, data is the most crucial asset nowadays. And Huawei is basically a telecom equipment provider based in China, in Shenzhen. And it designs and manufactures almost all kinds of infrastructure used for information and data, including routers, switches, wireless base stations, servers, laptops, even smartphones. And Huawei is the most valuable high-tech asset that the CCP controls. Actually, Huawei is the PLA tech army. Not only the founder, Ren Zhengfei, is from the PLA, most of its top management has military and state security background. And Huawei runs the company just like the PLA army. When I joined Huawei, I found Huawei's first priority is never about revenue and margin. And all the strategy were made to advocate the CCP's political strategy, just like they have been dealing with.
Heisenberg, hang on for 1 second. We'll take a short commercial break. We're going to hold you over and bring you back in the next segment. Heisenberg, a former employee of Huawei, joins us. Next segment, War and Pandemic.
I'm Nick Bolton, and these days...
Hey there.
Hey there. It seems everybody has a pair of tactical sunglasses.
Good morning.
Morning. But what if you already wear glasses? Then you need these flip-up tack glasses. These new glasses fit right over your existing eyewear to give you all the benefits of our tack glasses while you comfortably wear your regular glasses. And watch this. When you don't need them, the lenses flip up and out of the way. Then snap right back into place when it gets bright again. Plus, like all tack glasses, flip-up tack glasses feature Bell & Howell light filtering technology that makes invisible objects suddenly become visible. But don't take my word for it. Check out what these people had to say. Take a look at the screen and tell me what you see.
Nothing. Just blank.
Nothing. There's nothing there.
Absolutely nothing.
Flip down those tack glasses and look again.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. There was nothing, and then it just appears an American eagle. It's absolutely insane.
Can you read that fine print on the bottom right there?
Land of the free and home of the brave. God bless America.
Whether you're on the trail or on the golf course, on the water, or on the slopes. With flip-up tack glasses, you'll always see clearly without any glare. There's just nothing like them on the market today. Here you go, buddy.
Thanks, Nick.
Act now to get your flip-up tack glasses for just $19.99, and we'll even ship them to you free. Only tack glasses feature the precision and quality of genuine Bell & Howell lenses, and they're backed by our lifetime guarantee. But wait, order today and you can get a second pair. Just pay a separate fee. You get it all, plus free shipping. Here's how to order.
To get your flip-up tack glasses for only $19.99 with free shipping, call 1-800-284-4127. That's 1-800-284-4127, or visit us online at flipupglasses.com. That's 1-800-284-4127, or visit us at flipupglasses.com. Call or log on now.
In the last year, there were 3 victims of cybercrime every second. When a criminal has your personal information, they can do all sorts of things in your name. Criminals can use ransomware, spyware, or malware to gain access to information, like your name, your birthday, and even your social security number.
That's why Norton and LifeLock are now part of one company, providing an all-in-one membership for your cyber safety that gives you identity theft protection, device security, a VPN for online privacy, and more. And if you have an identity theft problem, we'll work to fix it with our $1 million protection package.
There are new cyber threats out there every day. So protecting yourself isn't a one-time job, it's an ongoing need. Now is the time to make sure that you have the right plan in place. Don't wait.
Norton 360 with LifeLock. Use promo code GET25 to save 25% off your first year and get a free shredder with annual membership. Call now to start your membership or visit lifelock.com/TV.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Welcome back to War and Pandemic. We've got the voice of the Chinese people on today for all 2 hours. This will give us, by the way, 8 hours of having Chinese voices on to talk about what it is to live under a totalitarian regime. And I think that that's the most time ever given by an American media platform to the voices of the Chinese. I understand sometimes it's tough their English is a lot better than our Mandarin in Cantonese, trust me. So it's just really amazing what these people go through, the risks that they have to do this. It's just incredible when you serve the happy talk in the Western media. Right now, we've got Heisenberg, who is a former engineer at Huawei. So Heisenberg, tell us, how does Huawei, because we don't hear this in the American media at all, how does Huawei gather up intelligence? How does it use its system and its apparatus to suck up intelligence?
Basically, it's a method of backdoors, right? You have super user authorization, so you have the backdoors. So actually, in every Huawei's equipment, definitely they have a backdoor behind the equipment. So that's how Huawei actually gather all the intelligence. So, like I said, for example, if an user who purchased the Huawei equipment, then Huawei can steal his information through the backdoors.
So they swear up and down that they don't have backdoors, right? They don't have this. This is just all a creation of foreign devils that anti-communist fanatics like ourselves that say that. So how would you, as an engineer, how would you convince people that they actually do have backdoors, and that if you're part of their system and using their devices, that you're essentially inadvertently part of the intelligence gathering apparatus of the People's Liberation Army, which is the military arm of the Chinese Communist Party?
So actually, it's quite normal. It's like a common sense for the IT industry that every equipment that has the backdoors. But you see that the Huawei is controlled by the CCP. Actually, it's a PLA army. So that means the CCP actually can use the backdoors to gather the information from all the users, Huawei users. So this is one part, and Huawei actually we're always very interested in high technologies which could be utilized in the military category rather than the civilian industry. When I became a supplier of Huawei, I kind of noticed because I was talking to those senior engineers inside Huawei.
Let me ask you, we got time for one more question, Heisenberg. And this is something that our audience and people want to know. We know kind of Huawei in the West and Huawei with 5G, and they're in UK and the United States, and Commerce Departments, Qualcomm's trying to get them for their chips. But how is that technology used against the Chinese people? How's the Huawei technology used to oppress the Chinese people?
Okay, well, I think I know the critical technology that Huawei is using to build the firewall. It's called DPI, which means Deep Package Inspection. And this technology is originally from the U.S. companies in Silicon Valley, such as Cisco, Broadcom. The firewall is such a powerful machine that enables the CCP to censor all the information efficiently and automatically. because you just think about the vast population in China. There are 1.4 billion people living in China. Imagine how much information the Chinese people would generate, let's say, each day. So without the tool, the firewall, the CCP can never be able to do the censorship in such a big scale in modern days. But with the firewall, the CCP can easily control the narrative and be in power permanently because its rulings basically based on the lies and the propaganda. And again, I believe this is a fundamental reason that China has zero transparency about the pandemic started in Wuhan. Dr. Li Wenliang was persecuted when he exposed the real situation, right? People can hardly get any true information about China. They have no choice but to have to believe what the CCP and its running dog, like WHO, World Health Organization, and its cyber army, Wu Mao, lied about. It has been proven totally false information, like there was no sign of human-to-human transmission, and such as mortality rate was low, right? And when people found out what's really going on, it was already too late to contain the situation. And so many innocent people just died tragically. It could be avoided from my point of view. If there's no firewall in China, I mean, the international society would know much earlier and send professionals to fix the problem much earlier. So I think Western countries should treat the firewall very seriously because it did hurt not only Chinese people, but everyone on Earth.
Heisenberg, thank you very much. We're going to have you back on in the coming weeks. This is Descent into Hell Part 4. The Chinese people speak, the voices of defiance. And on that note about the firewall, just so the CCP and Chinese intelligence understands it, we're having a meeting this afternoon. And guess what it's about? Tear down this firewall. It's within if Cisco and Broadcom and other American companies are supporting it and the financiers on Wall Street are financing it, it's time for that to stop. We had Michael Horowitz on this week, so we're getting a whole effort. Action, action, action. Every day, in our own small way, we're going to be taking on the Chinese Communist Party. And no, we are not going to accommodate. We're not going to kowtow. We're not going to bootlick like the Council on Foreign Relations and Richard Haas. We'll deal with that Monday morning, 10 o'clock, when we take on the foreign policy apparatus of Joe Biden, the globalist, Wall Street, and the global corporatist, here live on War Room Pandemic.
Brett Favre, legendary quarterback. Jerry Rice, legendary wide receiver.
You ready for your weekly meeting?
Yeah, we're ready.
Let's do this.
Let's stack the deck.
When legends play, they wear Copperfit Advanced Back Pro. Copperfit's best-selling compression back support just got better with new double-band adjustable supports for customizable compression when you need it most.
Since I put this on, I feel so much better. The core is the most important thing. To know that I'm stabilized here. Whatever I'm doing, I can give it 100%.
4 built-in stabilizing supports designed to improve posture and help reduce lower back stress and strain.
You have back pain and it's affecting your everyday life. You do something. If you can find something to help you get back out and be active like Copperfit, go for it. Absolutely. Do not give up.
A high-performance compression fabric infused with the powerful properties of copper, 360-degree flexible mobility, and lightweight